Section 8.1 Sin Divided from Glory. A sinful person cannot survive in the full glory of God any more than darkness can stay where there is light. It is not in cruelty or even anger that God sends Adam and Eve from his presence, but in mercy. They could not have survived any longer in his full glorious presence. Read this excerpt from Exodus. I've used the contemporary English version because it is a difficult passage in the modern King James. Then Moses said, I pray that you will let me see you in all of your glory. The Lord answered, All right, I am the Lord, and I show mercy and kindness to anyone I choose. I will let you see my glory and hear my holy name, but I won't let you see my face, because anyone who sees my face will die. There is a rock not far from me. Stand beside it, and before I pass by in all my shining glory, I will put you in a large crack in the rock. I will cover your eyes with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will take my hand away, and you will see my back. You will not see my face. It is mercy that keeps Yahweh from showing Moses his full shining glory. Moses would have died if he had seen the full light from Yahweh's face. This is not what God wants. God's plan has always been to bring us back to him, to where we can once again stand in his full glory. He began drawing people back when he gave the Israelites the law and the sacrifices. He was making a way for them to come back into his presence. He wanted them to be a holy people, which simply means a people set apart. In Leviticus 20 he says, I am Yahweh your God, who has separated you from the nations, and you shall make a difference between clean animals and unclean, and between unclean fowls and clean. And you shall not defile your souls by beast, or by fowl, or by any kind of living thing that creeps on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean. And you shall be holy to me, for I, Yahweh, am holy, and have severed you from the nations, so that you should be mine. He literally divided Israel from the rest of humanity by giving them the law. According to Paul, this was so they could recognize sin, and the sacrifices, to atone for sin. Atonement means to effect reconciliation or to be at one. More simply, atonement is the act of removing the darkness in us so that we can come close to God again. Just as an aside, I want you to know that most of the sacrifices offered by the Israelites were not just wasted. The blood and fat were offered to Yahweh, but the meat was eaten both by the family that sacrificed the animal and by the priests. Whenever they sacrificed, whether at the temple or at home, the blood was poured out, but the meat was eaten. In the Old Testament, the law required that a flawless sacrifice be offered for sin. It was merely a representation or shadow of what was to come. By obeying God and believing in his promise, the Israelites were upholding their part of the covenant and accepting the sacrifice of the coming Messiah, the only sacrifice that would truly end sin and reconcile us to God. They were also setting themselves apart from the other nations on earth. Yahweh gave them very particular instructions to build the tabernacle in the wilderness. After they performed all of the cleansing sacrifices and rituals, Yahweh's presence entered the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle. Was this because God is picky and wanted them to prove they loved him by cleaning his home? Of course not. He was protecting their sinful bodies from his glory. He was dividing his light from their darkness so that they could exist. He wanted them to be closer to him. This was still not a perfect solution. Only the high priest could enter the Holy of Holies, and only on the Day of Atonement, and only with all the proper purifications. If he failed to do all of the proper cleansing rituals and sacrifices, the high priest would die when he entered the Holy of Holies, when he entered God's presence. It was not because God did not want him to be close. It was because he could not come close to God. Not even the high priest was without sin, and darkness could not come into light, because it would vanish, just like it does when you turn on a light in a dark room. Our sinful bodies cannot come close to God. We would die. This is why Jesus had to come. There is no other way for us to approach God. The darkness in us must be removed utterly and completely, so we can stand in the full shining glory of God. God is not proud and haughty as some would make him out to be. He just wants his children back with him, and he has accomplished this in the only way possible.